This is 1.30. A cube of osmium metal, 1.5 centimeters on a side, has a mass of, what is the density at this temperature? Well, density is equal to mass divided by volume. And the reason they give you temperature is so that you know it doesn't change when you're having to find the density of something. In chapter 13, we'll learn that the density of certain things changes with temperature. And so here it's just like a piece of extraneous information that you can just ignore right now, as long as it's the same. And you won't have a trick question on that until you know that density actually changes with temperature in a future chapter. So for right now, we got to find the density, and that's equal to mass divided by volume. Cover up the d, it equals m divided by v. And it tells us the mass is 776.31, and that's grams. And then we're going to divide it by 1.5 times 1.5 times 1.5, because we need the volume, and of course that'll give us cubic centimeters. And remember, a cubic centimeter is equal to a milliliter, so then when you multiply these together and then take 76.31 and divide it by that, you end up with 22.61 gram per milliliter or gram per cubic centimeter. Letter B. The density of titanium is, what is the mass? So we're looking for the mass, so I'll cover that up. It equals density times volume. It tells us the density is 4.51, and that's grams per cubic centimeter. And then watch to make sure that your volume is in cubic centimeters or milliliters. Otherwise, you'd have to convert it first. And so fortunately, what they tell us is that it's 125 milliliters, which is 125 cubic centimeters. So you know your cubic centimeters are going to cancel. You end up multiplying those two units together, and you end up with 564 grams to 3 sig figs, which is what you started with. And then letter C, the density of benzene is, calculate the mass of benzene at this temperature. Once again, mass is equal to density times volume. It tells us that the density is 0.8787 grams per milliliter. And then we have a 0.15 liter of benzene, so watch out, make sure that you get it into milliliters, because otherwise the milliliters won't count right here. I mean, it won't cancel. And so to go from liters to milliliters really quick, 3 to the right, 1, 2, 3, that's 150.0 milliliters. Or if you're confused by that, 0.1500 liters, you can put a multiply sign and put a line, put liters in a position where it's going to cancel, put milliliters as your new set of units, and milli, of course, is 10 to the third of a liter. So there are 10 to the third of the small unit and the big unit, so you would put 10 to the third right here. And so if you were writing this out, I'd say put 1 times 10 to the third. You'd take 0.15 times 1, and you'd end up with 0.150 times 10 to the third. Whoops, one more 0 for sig figs. And 10 to the third means move it 1, 2, 3 places to the right, so you'd have 150 right there. Anyway, multiply those two together. After you have the correct units, be careful of that, and you end up with 131.8 grams of benzene.